Zendesk. Okay. Uh, where's the screen? Okay. So, he said that this is a view that an agent has, that any kind of customer care agent would have of like their tickets, whatever, right? These come in from this. This is getting automatically tagged as it comes in.
Yeah. So this one could be, for example, from the website, right? Look, okay, there you go. You see how where it says channel?
Okay.
It says what it came from the web form. So this particular ticket came from whatever website is in the example.
Right. Okay. And
right?
so,
and look, if you go down a little bit more, you see one came from WhatsApp.
Right. Would So okay, so let's say I was a product manager and I wanted to tag something. Like let's say this conversation with John Doe, with Jane Doe, or this conversation with visitor 15 whatever that so this is the person that talked to us, right? Like, this is the customer, right?
Yeah, that's the customer name.
Okay, so let's say Jane had a talk with us and Jane was like, "Yeah, you guys should fix your XYZ," right?
Okay.
Also, I want to return something. Right? So it's a return, but she also had a piece of feedback. Let's say it was like a website request or something. No, I guess website request here is not a feature request. It's like a I need help, and it's from the website. But let's say,
Okay.
yeah,
Yeah, continue.
yeah. Let's say there was a piece of feedback in here I wanted to collect. How do I get this piece of feedback and organize it?
So that's just how it comes down to how you use Zendesk. There's features that allow you to be able to there's something called triggers, and you can set a trigger where either based on a certain key terms, certain things will pop up in certain views. There's also something called tags, and tags aren't the same as a trigger, but what a tag is like, let's say if someone gives a particular response, you can put those tags. You can add a tag if you want something to be tracked. So in two ways. So number one, a trigger might automatically put any ticket that mentions feedback into the feedback view or feedback folder. A trigger could also put any ticket that comes in that says return into the return view or the return folder. That's one thing that you could do. Another thing with triggers is that you can set a hierarchy for triggers. So think of it almost like a filtration system where you can have your trigger send any email or ticket that has the word return to the return view or the return folder first. And then afterwards, it would apply it to the feedback folder afterwards.
Okay. So there's like logic in it too. Like it can do multiple things.
So that's for exactly. Yeah.
Right. So is this what a tag
exactly
would look like?
It can do multiple things. So this is what tags are. So a tag, I don't remember what particularly tags are for, but a tag could be to keep track of certain types of tickets. So you might have a tag that is for feedback, even though you don't have a folder for feedback. Right. So that way, if you wanted to go and see feedback, you just look at all the tags.
So I just search through tags.
You also see this. You could just use the search function and then specifically search for that tag.
Okay.
Yeah.
I could also, like you said, like add a view that has all the tags in it, right? Or how does?
No, you can have a view for whatever you want to see from tickets. So let's say you have a shirt brand and you want to see a view every time someone asks for Marvel products.
But
for some reason you have to
right, but I can't have a view that shows me all of the I'll like just shows me a specific type of tag. I can only have a view that shows me like like every time
Oh,
one mentions Marvel, and every
you
time.
don't have a view to see all the tags. No, no. You can see all the tags when you're going to, if you go into settings, you
Uh,
can see all the tags and then click into each one to see what the conditions are.
right.
But there isn't a view where like any agent can just like click tag and see all the tags. At least I don't think so.
Like you can click tags and see all the tags. No, I'm not trying to see all the tags. I'm just trying to see the ones that are tagged with feedback. You know what I mean? So let's say okay, let's say
Yeah, give me one.
I tagged this as feedback. Would I be able to check go into like a feedback view and see all of the feedback tags? Mm,
Yeah, you can.
okay, cool.
That's just searching.
Right, but isn't
Like you
that
could just search and then filter.
oh search and
So
filter?
you can go to the search
Oh,
filter and then choose the feedback tag, and then if you want, you could search Marvel, the keyword Marvel, and then
right,
it will
but it would be
search
a
all
searching.
tags.
It'd be a searching view though. It wouldn't be a view.
It would be a search of all tickets existing.
Right. It wouldn't be a view though.
It would not be a view.
Okay. So views can only be like related to sources, I guess, right? And
No.
wait, what? Then what makes an urgent unresolved ticket if not a tag?
A view, think of it like however you use your email, right? You have your email, you have folders in your email, right? So you might have a folder, like let's say you're doing a job search.
Right, right.
Actually, how do you use your email? Yeah, you might have a folder for job search, right?
Yeah.
And so, maybe you're getting a lot of emails from, I don't know, Walmart. And so you're like, okay, automatically send every email that comes from Walmart, hiring at walmart.com, send to job search folder. It's that same kind of logic.
Hmm. Yeah, but in that same way, I could move an email into a folder. Though, no?
Yes. So think of it as a destination. So it's not only email, right? You can have it come from email, WhatsApp, Facebook, the website, um,
Right.
yeah, different
But like,
sources, right?
I could drag an email from Costco into the same folder as the email from Walmart.
No, there's no dragging into folders, into
Uh,
views. You don't drag into views.
is there a move? Can I move?
I've
No,
never tried
because
that. I
it's
think
not
you wouldn't move it.
because it's
You
not part of
would.
the view. Okay, I see.
Sorry, yes, you can move it, but it's not the same as moving for email. So, for example, like if we're looking at returns here, you wouldn't you wouldn't just like drag the first one into like website requests. You would have to open up the ticket, and then you can open up the sorry, you can send the ticket to different departments.
Hmm.
Interesting. Actually, hold on. Could you send a ticket to a different view? In theory, yes, but it would be slightly complicated, and it could fuck up other stuff. Typically, the idea as a view is think of it as a filtration. Is think of it as all these tickets are coming in, and then they're filtered by something called triggers. Those triggers filter them into views,
Right,
and views is what the agent sees,
right.
right? But the view isn't exactly like a folder in an email where like you can move emails back and forth between views. You
Mhm.
can't you can't because the view is just a destination. If you want to if you want something to be under a particular subject or
Hmm.
yeah, a particular subject, then you have to add a tag. So let's say maybe you put a setting where every single ticket that goes into the returns view gets a tag return,
Hmm.
right?
Hmm.
Um, So then another step that you could do, you can set up another step where, you know, if let's say you are in returns, you read this return and it's talking about feedback, then what you could do is you can say, okay, I'm gonna make a feedback view, and I'm gonna make a condition of the feedback view, not only the word feedback, but anything tagged feedback. So now, if you allow a tag for feedback, now what an agent can do is like when they click onto the ticket and they open up the ticket, they can add a tag feedback to the ticket. And when they close the ticket or they send it to someone else, they set it as pending or whatever they do with the ticket, because it has that tag, it will now be filtered into another view.
Mm.
That's how you would do it.
Okay, nice. So we'd have to make a new view that filters
Mhm.
for that tag, and then people would have to tag it. Um,
Exactly.
People would have to tag it. Cool, 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 cool. Okay, makes sense. Makes sense. Let me see. And that's the, I guess that's the only way to keep organized, right? Like, um,
It's the best way because especially if you have different teams, you don't want to.
and is
You
this like
can't
the
have a
work?
ticket. You can't have a ticket existing in more than one view. At least from my experience, you can't have a ticket exist in more than one view. So you want to be careful because if you have a ticket for a return, but it goes into feedback view, like the feedback folder. If it let's just say feedback view, if it's in the feedback view when you need it to be a return, then that customer is not getting their issue dealt with,
Mhm.
right? So you have to be careful because if you set a trigger and it sends something to a different team and that team is like, well, I don't know what to do with this, then that email could get lost.
Mhm. Right, right. And it probably fucks up a lot of the sorting and all that shit. Yeah, it makes sense that that would not be good. Du- 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 du. And does Zendesk connect with other things? Like, can it connect with like
Yes.
Slack and?
I don't know about Slack. I could probably check. I know Zendesk can go to connect with Salesforce
Mm,
and it connects to Ada.
hmm. That makes sense because Ada goes into Zendesk basically.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Okay. Ada would go into Zendesk. That makes sense. Um, Interesting. Okay. So then, last question is, can let's see.
And you can add Zendesk to Slack. I don't know what it does, but apparently you can add Zendesk as an app in Slack.
Mhm. Doesn't look like it'll automatically send tickets yet to Slack, but okay. We do like 1 seconds.
Oh, that's kind of cool. But like, why the fuck would you want that?
Yeah, that's gonna be crazy. Like maybe if it was filtered in some way,
Yeah.
maybe. But
The
let's
only
see.
thing I can think of is like if you're like, I don't know, like dealing with a really big team and it's like an internal thing.
Hmm.
Um, Actually, it could be useful if like you want to send, like if you want users or customers or whoever to send directly to a particular team rather than like based on issues.
What do you mean?
Um, so let's say you have like a bunch of contractors that you're working with, like social media contractors. Maybe you want to manage their responses. Like maybe like you want to, they have questions about like an influencer like strategy they're doing, whatever. Instead of it going into a ticket and having like let's say a social media manager sit on Zendesk to deal with tickets from people, maybe they can send an email. It goes through Zendesk, and that shows up in your Slack in like a Slack channel for social media ambassadors.
Wait, they send an email that goes to Zen.
Or like it could be like from Facebook.
Can you go again?
So let's say you have a bunch of brand ambassadors, right? Like,
Sure.
and you have like someone that's like your PR team,
Hmm.
right? So then the person from your PR team may, rather than them sit on Zendesk and field a bunch of questions that are probably going to be live,
Uh-huh.
let's say like they need back to back, a lot of back to back, a lot of back and forth, sorry, then it would make sense to have Slack and Zendesk together so that you're messaging them back on a messaging service as opposed to like Zendesk, which doesn't feel like a messaging service. Because okay, so Zendesk makes it one thing with Zendesk is it's good for when you're receiving one-time tickets where there's going to be a one-time response, but it gets harder to manage when you have multiple interactions. So if you're going back and forth with a customer, um, Zendesk is not the most ideal because any ticket that I respond to once, all of it goes into what is called an open folder. And once it's in the open folder, it's not filtered in the same way. So let's say for example, today you're responding to returns and then tomorrow you're responding to feedback. Anyone that replies back to you, whether it's a return ticket or a feedback ticket, doesn't matter. That response will show up in my open. Open would be almost the same as like my personal inbox. The problem with that is it's not going to be filtered in the same way. It's just going to be one big folder where all the tickets that I responded to and I got a response back from show up in.
Ah, okay. So it's like it goes into like a master, like mixed folder that doesn't tell you like that doesn't have the filtering that it used to.
Exactly.
What the heck?
So I don't know if there's a way for you to use it where like if someone responds back to you, it goes back in the same folder. But as soon as you respond to a ticket, it shows your name on that ticket, you as the agent on that ticket. And then if that person responds back, to make sure you are the one that responds back again, it goes back into your specific open folder.
Hmm.
And the reason why it does that is like if it doesn't, if it puts it back, like let's say there's a return ticket, someone replies back to you, reply to a return ticket, that person replies back, they're like, hey, like, no, you didn't answer my question. Like, what does this mean? Instead, like, if it goes back in the view, anyone can respond and it becomes messy. You want the same person dealing with the same customer, just from a customer service perspective.
Right, right. Okay. That makes sense.
It's
So
not.
now with your social media example.
So with my social media example, the reason why I'm saying that is like, let's say the person, so like the customer, but let's not call them a customer. Well, I think the term that Zendesk uses is users. So the user or customer, let's say they're not really a customer. Really and truly, what they are is like a, a social media ambassador,
So someone
right?
reaching out through to your form, basically, or
Not even
through somewhere, through your
sure,
message.
maybe reaching out. Sure, it could be reaching out, or maybe they work with you. Like maybe you have like 10 brand ambassadors for Red Bull, and they're out in downtown Toronto, and you know they're sending messages to you about different issues that's going on, and so rather than that have, and there's going to be back and forth, and so it would make sense for that to go to Slack, where it can go to a Slack channel, and then you can have those conversations rather than it to go all into your open bucket where it would all not be filtered.
Mm.
But take everything I
Because
just said with a grain of salt. This is just a possible application I'm thinking in my mind.
of the Slack integration thing.
Yeah, I don't know if this is what people would use it for, but like this is what
Uh-huh.
I would imagine.
True. Yeah, no, that makes sense. Like if that would be using it to feeding it through Slack would be so much more would make so much more sense than a bunch of emails going into Zendesk.
Yeah,
Hmm.
particularly if you have to go back and forth.
Seems like the back and forth situation is tricky. Um, cool. Yeah, I think that's everything. Yeah. Just
Try to
trying-
see if you can find a picture of the settings, because I think that'll help kind of give a grasp of like triggers or conditions for a trigger. But if not, that's fine. I think I can.
Mention. Hold
Okay.
So does Zendesk connect to anything else for the team outside of Zendesk to use? Um, like for
Zendesk.
example, how would a product manager looking to see what people are complaining about get their digest? I'm guessing they wouldn't be able to get it directly from Zendesk or another platform. They would have to get it from it just be passed along
What
communication.
do you mean? Explain that differently for me.
Like, let's say Bob in the product department wants to know, hey, what are people complaining about?
Okay.
Bob can't just peruse into Zendesk unless it's configured, of course, and he knows how to use it. Bob has to ask or has to talk to the person, the leader of the customer's success team in order to get an idea of like what the problems are. Bob just can't get like he can't. There's no easy way for him to like, as someone who doesn't know anything, just figure out what's wrong.
No, Bob cannot. Actually, I don't know because again, Bob can
I
Bob
guess like
see it?
yeah, I mean from what you showed me, yeah,
So
generally.
so there's another like so if you go back to like what you were showing me the first time, Sendex. Also, you can't send pictures
I don't think
in
not.
Messenger.
I don't think so. Yeah, don't worry about it. Let's see. Okay. Unless there's a filter, right? Like or a view,
So
search for tag, like we said, right?
if you go on the left side where the green bar is, the little one, two, three, the fourth icon from the top,
Mm-hmm.
that I think is like analytics.
Mm-hmm.
So with analytics, what you could do is you can essentially create your own kind of like what was the word that you used to describe like to
Dashboard.
see everything? Say
Dashboard.
again?
Dashboard.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, you can create like a dashboard. I think that's what it's called, Zendesk dashboard even. You can create a dashboard where you can have different analytics. So like for example, you can get all tickets tagged return, and you can look at how many of the tickets have more than 2 or 3 interactions, and then see that. Or you can see the how long were these tickets open for, or you can see I don't know if you can see like different words used. I don't think it's that detailed, but I've never tried that. But like basic analytics, like how long is the ticket open for? How many interactions are there for the ticket? Where did the ticket come from? Like those basic numbers, you can see like how many tickets we got for this month. So like if you have a tag for like complaints, you can see okay, the tag hashtag complaints has 450 tags for this month, but
Mm-hmm.
last month it was only 250.
Mm-hmm. Right. Gotcha. Makes
Yeah.
sense.
So like you can see it that I don't know if every agent has access to that, but I know that's something that could be done where that could be created. Like the administrator can create that dashboard, and then people could view that every month to see the updated figures.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah, that makes sense. That makes sense. True, 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 true. Anyway,